through fire and shadow, why your breakdown is the birth of the real you. If you're experiencing these internal storms, these chaotic waves that seem to break everything you thought was stable, then this isn't just a random crisis. It isn't bad luck. It isn't punishment. It's not even something to fix. It's a spiritual alarm clock, blaring through the illusion you were taught to believe was real. This chaos, it's sacred. And if you're in the thick of it right now, then I need you to know this. You're not falling apart, you're awakening through the dark. You see, when we begin to awaken, it doesn't start with peace. It rarely starts with bliss. It begins with disruption. The ego doesn't go quietly. The false self, the mask we've built to survive the world, starts to crack. And what rises from underneath that collapse is the real you. The version of you that was buried beneath years of conditioning, expectations, and emotional armor. So if your relationships are falling apart, if your job suddenly feels meaningless, if you're waking up feeling anxious, unmotivated, questioning everything, if you feel disconnected from people you used to resonate with, then I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not broken. You are breaking open. This is what awakening through the dark looks like. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It's terrifying at times. Because we are not just shifting beliefs, we are shifting dimensions of consciousness. Let me take you deeper. When your soul begins to awaken, it sends ripples through your entire energetic system. Your nervous system, your emotions, your relationships, your sense of identity, everything gets recalibrated. Why? Because the version of you that was designed to survive the matrix cannot carry the codes of your higher self. So that version must die. And that death? It feels like chaos, but it's actually birth. Think about it. When a seed breaks open in the soil, it looks like destruction. But it's life. And you right now are breaking open. Not to end, but to begin. The question is, can you trust the process of your own becoming? Because when the chaos hits, the mind wants to fix it, escape it, numb it. But the soul? The soul wants to feel it, to breathe through it, to alchemize it. And that's where true awakening lies. Not in escaping the dark, but in learning to see in it. You have to understand that the darkness isn't trying to destroy you.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
It's trying to reveal you. You came to this planet with codes, with a mission, with a frequency that the world needs. But those codes are locked beneath layers of programming, and the only way to access them is through initiation. And chaos is the first gate of that initiation. When you lose everything you thought made you you, you are finally free to meet the version of yourself that was never afraid, never small, never stuck. The version of you that remembers why you came here in the first place. Let's talk about the signs, the real, raw, unfiltered signs that you're awakening through the dark. You feel emotionally volatile. One moment you're inspired, the next you're in despair. This isn't emotional instability. It's energetic detox. Your system is purging everything that's not aligned with your higher self. You lose interest in things that once defined you, your job, your hobbies, even your friendships feel hollow. This is because your soul is shifting frequencies, and what once resonated no longer matches your vibration. You question everything, your beliefs, your upbringing, your values. This questioning isn't a crisis, it's a clearing. The truth wants to move in, but it can't until the lies move out. You feel alone, even around people. You're not going crazy. You're just becoming more sensitive, more attuned to energy. You're feeling the dissonance between your inner truth and the external noise. You feel called to something bigger but don't know what. That's the soul knocking. It won't give you the full blueprint yet. It's asking you to trust the frequency before the form appears. Here's the twist: the chaos isn't the problem. It's the portal. And if you can learn to walk through it, instead of resisting it, you will find the most powerful version of yourself on the other side. But it requires something rare in today's world: radical surrender. Not giving up, but giving in. To the process, to the transformation, to the sacred intelligence of your awakening. So how do you navigate this dark night of the soul? Here's what I've learned through fire, through loss, through ego death after ego death. 1. Stop trying to make sense of it too soon. The mind wants answers. The soul wants experience. Let it be messy. Let it be unknown. Truth doesn't always come as clarity. Sometimes it comes as feeling. 2. It creates sacred space. You can't awaken inside the same noise that put you to sleep. Turn off the distractions. Walk in nature. Sit in silence. Journal. Let your inner world become louder than the outer one. 3. Feel everything. Don't bypass your pain with spiritual cliches. Feel your rage, your grief, your confusion. These are not signs of weakness, they are the gatekeepers of your power. 4. Let go of the old self. You're not losing yourself. You're shedding what was never truly you. That identity you built to survive. It doesn't fit where you're going. 5. Trust the divine timing. Awakening is not a linear process. You'll feel like you've made it, only to fall again. That's okay. Each descent is deeper integration. Each chaos is a new layer being peeled back. And most importantly, you are not alone. There are millions of us awakening through the dark right now. Quietly, painfully, powerfully. We may not be loud, but we are everywhere. And when we come together, when we stop hiding our chaos and start honoring it as the sacred rite of passage it truly is, we begin to build a new kind of world. One not built on perfection, but on presence. One not controlled by fear, but guided by frequency. One not driven by ego, but led by soul. Let me ask you now deeply, honestly, what part of your life is falling apart right now? And could that be the very place where your soul is trying to come alive? What if you stopped resisting the chaos and started listening to it? What if this breakdown is not the end, but the threshold? What if everything you've been praying for is already inside the very pain you're trying to escape? Because that's how the soul works. It hides the light inside the dark. It buries the treasure beneath the rubble. And it waits for you to remember that you are not here to be saved. You are here to awaken. Through the fire, through the grief, through the mystery. And on the other side, you don't find a new life. You find your true self. The shadow codes, decoding pain, synchronicity, and the sacred language of chaos when we're deep in it, when life feels like a storm that won't end. When the ground beneath us dissolves, when nothing makes sense anymore, it's easy to think we're lost. It's easy to believe we've taken a wrong turn. But what if the chaos is not a detour? What if it's the curriculum? If you've made it this far, then you already know. Awakening through the dark isn't a poetic metaphor. It's a lived experience. It's nights you can't sleep because your thoughts are loud and your soul is louder. It's days when your chest tightens for no reason, when synchronicities haunt you, when old memories rise like ghosts demanding to be seen. But what if I told you every single one of those moments is encoded with meaning? Pain is not random. It is intelligent. And when you awaken through the dark, you begin to see that chaos has a language. It speaks in symbols, in patterns, in echoes. It speaks through emotion, through repetition, through what breaks, through what stays. And when you learn to read that language, you stop being afraid of the dark. You start working with it. Let's go deeper. Why do we feel so much during awakening? Because pain is not just something we experience, it's something we carry. Most of us are walking around with emotional weight we didn't even know we were holding. Ancestral grief, childhood trauma, collective fear. And when we awaken, the soul says, it's time to clean the temple. So everything that's unresolved begins to rise. And it feels like life is falling apart. But it's not falling apart, it's falling into alignment. For the first time, you're not numbing. You're not bypassing. You're feeling. You're finally present enough to witness what's been buried. And that's when the codes start to emerge. Let me explain. Every emotion you feel has a frequency, and every frequency carries information. When you allow yourself to fully feel your grief, your rage, your fear, you're not regressing. You're downloading. You're receiving the raw data of your soul's evolution. The pain is the portal. The trigger is the teacher. So stop asking, how do I make this go away? Start asking, what is this here to show me? That's how you begin to decode the shadow. Let's say you keep getting triggered by abandonment. Every relationship ends the same way. Every friend pulls away. Every time you open your heart, it feels like someone walks out. That's not just bad luck. That's a code. That's your soul saying, here is the wound. Here is the pattern. Here is the place where your power is locked. And when you stop trying to avoid that pain and you turn toward it with curiosity, compassion, and presence, you begin to alchemize it. You begin to see how that pattern was never about them. It was about your original wound, your original forgetting. And in that remembering, you reclaim a piece of yourself. This is the real work of awakening, and escaping into the light, but integrating the dark. Because here's the paradox most people miss. The more light you hold, the more shadow you must integrate. Otherwise, the light becomes blinding. It becomes illusion. It becomes spiritual ego. But you are here to walk the middle path. You are here to hold both, to feel the full spectrum of your humanity without losing the truth of your divinity. And that takes courage. It takes sitting with your pain when it would be easier to distract. It takes questioning your beliefs when it would be easier to defend. It takes trusting your path when nothing around you validates it. But when you do that, something profound begins to shift. You start seeing synchronicities. Have you noticed them lately? 1111. 333. Songs that speak directly to your moment. A feather on the ground after a breakdown. A stranger saying exactly what you needed to hear. These aren't coincidences. They're breadcrumbs from your soul. They're confirmations that even in your darkest hour, you are being guided, held, watched over. The universe never abandoned you. You just stopped noticing the way it speaks. Because it doesn't speak in language, it speaks in frequency, in alignment, and in resonance. So here's the practice. When chaos hits, instead of collapsing, listen. Ask, what am I being shown? What pattern is repeating? What emotion is trying to be felt all the way through? What belief is ready to dissolve? What version of me is dying so the real one can be born? This is how you turn chaos into initiation. But you meet it with presence. You meet it with power. You meet it with the knowing that you are not the storm, you are the eye of it. You are the calm center in the middle of your own unraveling. And the more you trust that, the more chaos becomes your teacher. Let me give you a practical example. Maybe you've lost your job, your partner, and your sense of identity all in a short span of time. It feels like life is crumbling. But if you zoom out, what if that job was draining your soul? What if that relationship was keeping you small? What if the identity you built was never truly you? The chaos didn't come to destroy you. It came to free you. But freedom hurts when you've been bound for so long. When the prison falls apart, it doesn't feel like liberation at first, it feels like loss. That's why grief is sacred. Grief is the bridge between what was and what's becoming. It's not just sorrow, it's transformation. So cry, rage, surrender, but know that every tear is washing away what no longer fits, and what remains. That's who you truly are. Let me ask you something now, not from the mind, but from the soul. What if your greatest pain is the birthplace of your greatest power? What if the chaos is the cracking open of a shell you've outgrown? What if everything that feels like it's falling apart is actually falling into soul alignment? And what if the version of you that emerges from this storm isn't just healed but reborn? Because that's what's happening. You are not just shifting your mindset. You are shifting your entire frequency. You are no longer running the old scripts. You are no longer outsourcing your worth. You are no longer living inside the illusion. You are waking up through the dark, through the grief, through the sacred unraveling of everything false. And what you find on the other side, it's not a new belief system. It's not a new identity. It's you raw, radiant, real. No mask, no filter, no fear, just you. Alive, awake, aligned. And when that you walks into the world, reality bends, timelines shift, and the universe responds. Because now you're not reacting to life. You're co-creating it. If you've made it through the fire, through the storms, through the nights where your soul screams silently into pillows soaked with cosmic grief, then you're more than just a survivor of spiritual chaos. You are now something else entirely. You are a light architect. You've walked through the corridors of your own shadow. You've sat with your pain long enough to hear its messages. You've watched old versions of yourself burn to ash, and now comes the part no one talks about: rebuilding. Because spiritual awakenings don't end in fireworks. They end in silence, in space, in the sacred aftermath of soul-level demolition. And in that space, you're not given a manual. You're given a question. Now that you know who you're not, who are you willing to become? This is where the real work begins. Not in escaping the dark, but in engineering the light. And this light isn't the fluffy kind. It's not about love and light bypassing or pretending everything is okay. No, this light is forged. It's earned. It's built from the raw material of your own pain, transmuted into purpose. It's the light of someone who has seen the void and decided to create anyway. So how do we begin? We begin with intention, not goals, not hustle, not performance, but soul-aligned, frequency-rooted intention. You've been stripped of every identity that wasn't yours. That means you now get to choose not from fear, not from programming, but from truth. Ask yourself, what version of me is finally ready to emerge? What would I build if I no longer feared failure, judgment, or rejection? What life feels like soul resonance, not just survival? This is your blueprint moment. And I'll tell you this, the most powerful rebuilds don't happen by snapping your fingers. They happen by layering frequency into form. Start small. Start sacred. Maybe it's the way you wake up. No more grabbing your phone first thing. Maybe now it's breath, silence, gratitude, stillness. That sounds simple, right? But that's quantum architecture. Because you're no longer reacting, you're designing your day from alignment. Maybe it's the way you speak. Less self-deprecation, more truth. No more shrinking, no more hiding your light. You speak with the weight of someone who has earned their voice. A voice forged in pain, now infused with presence. Maybe it's the way you show up to love. You used to seek it from emptiness, now you offer it from overflow. You no longer chase validation. You radiate frequency and let resonance draw the right people in. That's not ego. That's energetic sovereignty. You rebuild your life by living it as a temple. Every thought a brick, every word a beam, every action a sacred ritual. And this time you don't build from fear. You build from vision. The version of you that's rising now isn't here to play in the old systems. You're not here to squeeze your multidimensional self into a 9-to-5 box, pretend you're fine, and call it a life. You're here to create new templates. That means your work becomes a transmission. Your relationships become containers for growth. Your choices become spells. Every yes and no, every boundary, every leap is a signal to the universe. I remember who I am. And when you live from that place, life starts showing up differently. The opportunities you didn't chase arrive. People you've never met feel like soul family. Resources appear without force. Why? Because you're no longer living from survival. You're living from alignment. And the universe doesn't respond to hustle, it responds to frequency. Let me be clear, this doesn't mean you won't be challenged. The path of a light architect is not linear. You're still human. You'll still doubt. You'll still fall into old patterns. But now you'll catch yourself faster. You'll fall with awareness. You'll rise with tools. Because now you know the terrain. You've mapped your own underworld. You've met your demons and found out they were just frightened fragments of you, waiting to be loved home. And now, you're whole enough to begin again, not from the ashes of your trauma, but from the blueprint of your becoming. So what does this new life look like? It's not about perfection. It's about authenticity. You stop trying to be liked, and you become real. You stop trying to impress, and you start to express. You stop waiting for the world to change, and you begin building the frequency of the world that's already trying to emerge through you. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Many people awaken but never rebuild. They stay in the void. They romanticize darkness. They wear their trauma like a badge. But you're not here just to survive awakening. You're here to embody it, to walk with the wisdom you earned, to speak with the authority of someone who has lived it, to create worlds with your words, your choices, your frequency. That's what it means to be a light architect. You don't just escape the matrix, you recode it. You don't just raise your vibration, you anchor it into your actions, your family, your art, your money, your service. You become the living bridge between higher realms and this earth. And that's where the magic begins. Because when enough of us live this way, not just awake but activated, we become a network of light. A living grid. A planetary nervous system pulsing with remembrance. That's the real revolution. Not in the streets, but in our energy fields. In our hearts, in our choices. So let me ask you now, as we close this chapter, what kind of world are you willing to build if the blueprint lives in your body? What kind of relationships would you cultivate if you knew your love recalibrated timelines? What kind of work would you do if you knew your joy was a signal for others to remember their soul? What kind of life would you live if you stopped waiting for permission and started living like a cosmic creator in human form? You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not too late. You're right on time. And everything you've survived has prepared you to build what comes next. So go, speak truth, create beauty, move energy, build temples from your trauma, make art from your ache, and walk this earth like the God being you are finally remembering you've always been. This isn't the end of your chaos. It's the beginning of your conscious creation. Welcome to the other side. Welcome to your next timeline. Welcome home.